All right. We just go right into it, man.
Go in.
Yeah, we're live. So yesterday
I pull up and I see this dude with this dog, got his shirt off, looks jacked, tatted, like our kind of guy. He's got his dog who's even more badass, Lily, who looks like she'll take your throat out at any moment. I'm walking up and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm Eben." He's like, "Greg." And he's like, "Man, I told Greg you were coming here, dude. I told Greg before you invited him to the event. I told Greg you were going to be up here and that we got to connect with you." And then Greg comes to me and he says, "Hey man, Eb just invited me to Heal and Flow." And he's like, "Dude, you got to go." And so he was just saying how fortuitous, divinely ordained this whole week has been. And that 2 years ago, I was a big part of him not putting a gun in his mouth.
Yeah, bro.
And that just fucking blew my mind. I got chills all over my body.
I feel it right now, dude. Just you retelling that story.
Yeah.
Because, Greg Lappin's one of my best friends in the world, and we have been for a long time. And he went through a really dark phase a couple years ago with, just struggling with business. The marriage was struggling. Just life happens, right? And he told me when I mentioned that I was going to your event last week, he goes, "Bro, when I was in that really, really dark place and I moved out," because he was living at his Jiu Jitsu academy while him and his wife were figuring things out. And he goes, "I went into the bathroom right next to my office and I literally, my Glock was sitting there. I wanted to end it all." And then he goes, "And then I remembered a mantra from one of Ebens' reels. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I started saying it." And he goes, "I felt like power coming back into me." And he goes, "So I honestly attribute that guy's power to giving me the strength to still be here today."
Blows my mind.
It blows my mind too. And now we're all connected and we're going to spend the weekend together.
Dude, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing. The thing I've been talking about it all week because I've got this group mentorship program I run. And the calls all week are about these opportunities we get in our lives to take a quantum leap.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been, man, we talk about finding peace, and interestingly, the military journey out of the career and the pro football player journey out of the career are super similar psychological experiences.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, there's the Super Bowl. It's like this thing. You work your whole life to do this thing, and then you do it, and then you're on the other side of it. And it's like, what? Now what? Where do I go from here?
Bro, when we were talking Sunday evening, and you were saying, you're like, when I left the NFL and my friends that I was close with are leaving the NFL, a lot of men fall into like this void.
Yeah.
Because their purpose, their passion, their whole identity is wrapped up in this thing.
Yeah.
And then once that thing is taken from them, you have to step into this new journey while feeling physically and emotionally kind of broken.
Yep.
And I was like, as you were telling me this, I was like, dude, that's the special operations community to a T.
Mm.
And it just made me think, it's like, dude, it could be football or it can be being a Navy SEAL or an Army Ranger. But if you do really cool shit in your 20s, like you did, right?
Yeah.
Bro, if you don't keep chasing really cool shit, if you look in the rearview mirror and say, my best days are behind me, I feel like you're just waiting to die.
Absolutely, man.
And hearing you talk about that with professional sports is like, oh, this isn't just something soldiers feel or Rangers or whatever. It's like, it's anybody that goes through a phase where they lose an identity that's important to them.
Absolutely.
And then, like I said, at your little, the little introduction circle is like, hey, you're building community and identity through Heal and Flow. I'm trying to do the same thing here through jiu-jitsu, where what's it about? It's about building community and being able to provide something of value to the people that want to share time and space with you.
Yeah.
And you got to share 2 practices with us. You got to feel that vibe, feel that energy. I got to do the same thing with you in some of your circles and your breath work and your yoga practice and stuff. And it's like, dude, there's so many parallels in our life right now. And you're a leader of your community. I'm a leader in my community. And And I don't even say that like putting myself on a pedestal, because remember what I said at Riley's house is like, I fall into a leadership position when I have the capacity to offer value, but I love stepping into fellowship as well and being able to partake in your seminars. And like, even though I only spent a few hours with you guys, just being able to sit back and be led by a man that I just feel trust with. We don't know each other very well, but the trust is already there.
Totally, dude.
Like, I would leave my children with you and have no concerns.
Same.
You know?
Yeah, same.
And so it's like, man, this is all just happening, and it's so many correlations and similarities. It's a wild fucking ride, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, I have to say, so, you know, my journey out of sports was, like you said, I came out of football. I felt mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually broken. Confidence gone. Who am I? What the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know?
What was the catalyst to leave? Were you just getting too banged up or burned out?
So 6 years in the NFL, stellar rookie season, going into my second year, ruptured disc in my back, L5S1, like literally ruptured the disc.
Ugh.
Had excruciating sciatic nerve pain, damage going down my right leg, kept grinding through it. Halfway through my second year, dislocate my shoulder twice in a game against the Chiefs, pop it back in. At halftime, well, I mean, it's a whole story, but basically,
bro, we got all the time in the world.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. It's just like, it's one of those stories I've told 1,000 times, and every time it's like, certain details I can't really leave out, you know?
Yeah.
Giving the full context. But, you know, had a ruptured disc, played through it until I dislocated my shoulder twice and was told I needed season-ending surgery. So went and had shoulder surgery. Back wasn't any better. Go into my third season, which was after the lockout, the NFL lockout. The owners locked the players out because we couldn't come to terms on a collective bargaining agreement. This is in 2011, so we've come back at training camp. Shoulders better, still playing with this. I'm starting at right tackle, trying to play with this excruciating sciatic nerve pain. Like, my whole right leg has no power in it. And toes numb, can barely feel my foot on the floor, no power to push to my left, can't anchor to my right, you know, a mess for an offensive lineman. Well, offensive line is a lot of Jiu Jitsu, dude. It's a lot of hand-to-hand combat. You know, we're not going to the ground, but it's all that. It's leverage, it's pressure points, it's hands, it's all that stuff. And
you're grabbing a hold of other men and manipulating their body.
Yeah.
That's grappling, man.
Totally.
I tell people all the time, because you can call it wrestling, judo, jiu-jitsu. We can add football in there now.
Yeah.
But if you're learning how to move other men, you have to start to understand base, leverage, position, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And interestingly enough, in high school, I was training a lot of grappling.
Okay.
Doing a lot of grappling. So I've been telling Riley and Kat, doing this jiu-jitsu, dude, it feels so natural.
Yeah.
It feels so intuitive. You know, I just get it. It's in my body.
I love it, bro.
I love it.
And you're having a good time out there.
So much fun.
Winning or losing, like I can just see the smile on your face.
Yeah.
And you're like radiating happiness.
Yeah.
Even like, I got you with that big sweep where I lifted your body in the air.
Yeah.
And I got home and Jenny goes, when you elevated Eben in the air like that, she goes, it was like his face was just filled with joy. Yeah. I was like, because you've been such a high level athlete, you know, bro, you know how tough you are. You know how well you can endure pain. Like, all the stuff that is important as a martial artist to develop, you've already developed all that.
Yeah.
And now you can just, let's just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, just have fun with it. So, you know, I came out of my football career and was like, what's next? And started seeking that peace, you know, in any way I could find it. And came in yoga, came in meditation and breath work and plant medicine and all the stuff that we do to get reconciled inside. And I've been doing that for 10 years. And over the last year or so, this hunger has started to emerge of needing combat, needing challenge, needing to fight again. like needing to do the shit that I was born to do, you know? I mean, I'm a warrior at heart, you know? And
Bro, I was actually, this is my crazy brain, but when we were, that first yoga that we did on the beach, when you were up front leading, I was like, man, if the apocalypse ever happens, I want this motherfucker to have a double-edged battle axe and be on my team, because that dude would be unstoppable.
Totally,
but
man.
Bro, like the warrior spirit is something that's just inherent in certain men.
Yeah.
And if you try and extinguish it completely, something feels off.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that I lived the warrior lifestyle. I did 14 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. I spent a lot of time with special operations units. And on one hand, when I walked away from that, I walked away from that. And I've tried to find peace with that, and I think that I have. But just to go from one extreme to the other, where it's like, dude, we're out looking for fucking bad guys to kill, and now
nothing.
I'm just going to Everett Community College, taking a basic load. It's like, what the course load? It's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, dude.
So I think it's important to feed that part of your spirit. And bro, I say this all the time. I know I'm biased because I run a jiu-jitsu academy, but I've done it all. I've done Muay Thai, I've done boxing, I've done wrestling, I've done MMA, I've taken a few cage fights. Through all of that journey, the jiu-jitsu mats are what bring me the most peace. Because jiu-jitsu, unlike a lot of other martial arts, can be rooted in love, even though it's still highly competitive, and it's real too.
Yeah.
I've used jiu-jitsu in real life where I've strangled dudes unconscious, and it's even surprised me how well it works.
Yeah.
So it's a real art, but you can practice it with people that you love at a high capacity, but you're not hurting each other.
Yeah.
Because bro, MMA and Muay Thai, that stuff just, I mean, I'm almost 44.
Yeah.
I'm over all of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally, man. Totally. So coming back, or this hunger started to emerge, and I was like, what am I going to do? Should I box? Should I do Muay Thai? Should I do Jiu-Jitsu? And my life is an interesting situation in itself right now. I'm going back and forth between Texas and California. And, so I'm like, where do I get a gym membership? XYZ, all the overthinking that we do, you know? And then here we are. I invite you to Heal and Flow. And I think I had seen the Guns and Gis, but definitely didn't know it was about to happen this weekend. And so here you come to Heal and Flow, and it's the last day, and you're getting ready to leave, and you're like, hey, man, 2 people just dropped out of our Guns and Gis event. It's tactical handguns in the morning. It's jiu-jitsu in the evening. And it's like, this is it. This is an opportunity. This is a portal right here.
Yeah.
To receive and take a step into a whole new reality that I've been craving and calling out for. And dude, coming to class Monday, literally, I told you, I was like, I think we got to go. We got to go back tomorrow.
Yeah, you had some.
But maybe if I got an email or two, maybe we can stay. And I got back, dude, and had the answer.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, I looked at Kat and I said, we have to stay. We have to do what we got to do to stay, man. And
just let Riley know, hey, we're crashing another week here.
Yeah. He was like, dude, perfect. So then, but that Monday class coming in and seeing what you've built here and doing the jiu-jitsu, and man, something turned on that hasn't been on in a while.
Oh, I love that.
You know, like I feel like I found the thing I've been needing.
Yes.
To feed the fire, to like stoke the fucking fire again. And something I really wanted to talk to you about, dude, because I think you're the perfect guy to have this conversation with, because all the crazy shit that's happening out in the world right now, politics, culture, all these insane ideologies and twisted ideals and things that are just becoming like, it seems like mainstream consciousness is going in a certain direction, or at least the weirdness of whatever's been happening for the last 100 years or evolving for the last 100 years is starting to come into the light, and we're seeing it and we're going, what the fuck? And like, where are we going here as a population? Feels like we're moving towards something like an apocalypse, perhaps. And I know when we say that term, apocalypse, it can feel really scary, but apocalypse is really just the transformation into a whole new reality.
Which every society throughout history has went through.
Exactly.
And so I tell people all the time when I talk about this isn't me fear mongering.
Yeah. And
this isn't me like, oh, you better be ready. Doomsday is coming. You know what's coming is a new opportunity.
Yeah.
To rebuild civilization or rebuild society and hopefully from the ashes, like we create something special like they did when they formed America initially.
Yeah.
But it's very clear to me, at least, that the trajectory that we are on is not sustainable.
Yeah.
We have our society that's just filled with people that hate each other. And then the powers to be are always stoking those flames of division and hate.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, if you're a conservative minded person that likes guns, well, you must hate gay people and you hate black people. And it's like all of these weird things that like 5 years ago, like I felt like we were moving away from all of that stuff. And it's like, dude, never in my real day-to-day life do I experience racism? Do I experience sexism? Like, and the perfect example of that is the Jiu Jitsu mats, man.
Yeah.
I've had all walks of life come and train with me on my mats, and never once do I, who do you like to have sex with? You know what I mean? Like before we start training, it's like all these little things about people's personal lives or people's personal choices have little bearing on our ability to connect as human beings. However, they've made this narrative so prevalent that a lot of these people, I feel like everybody hates each other. Like, oh, well, that guy voted for Trump and I'm a African American, so he must hate me. Like all these weird things. And I hate that I feel like our society is being manipulated by the powers to be, and a lot of people are falling for it. So what's the answer to that? The answer to that, in my opinion, is to be self-sufficient, defiant, resilient. And those are the things that I really preach on my platform, is being physically fit, being mentally and morally straight, building a tribe of good, capable, strong-minded people, and just doing what human beings have done since the beginning of time. And trying to detach from all of the bullshit we're being inundated with. Bro, you pick up your phone, you turn on the television, and it's just fucking being spewed at you. And it's hard to manage it all.
It is.
And I feel like, I'm in my mid 40s now. I have a lot of life experience. I've done a lot of things. And I feel like I can kind of detach and see this for what it is. But imagine being 20 years old through all this. Their brains are literally being manipulated. Like, what do they call it? Mass form hypnosis, where they're literally like convincing people of these things that are just simply untrue.
They're illusions.
And
it's all illusions.
So if you look at society's trajectory, I simply have to come to the conclusion it is not sustainable. So if it's not sustainable, what does that mean? That means at some point something has to give. Does that mean that the power grid goes down and everybody starts cannibalizing themselves and the cities burn? Like, okay, that could happen. Or could it mean like there is some catalyst where everybody finds unity and we vote out all of these pieces of shit.
Exactly.
And we put in people that have good, strong moral character. That could be it too, right? But regardless, something dramatic has to happen. And I'm not sure what that looks like yet. But between now and then, if you focus on your physical health, your mental well-being, and your community, well, bro, then I don't really care what the future looks like.
Exactly.
Because you can't scare me. I'm not worried about what tomorrow brings because I know that I have the right group of people with me. And bro, human beings have been enduring hardship since human beings have existed.
Exactly.
So if we go through a period where let's say the grid goes down, have you heard those statistics that if the grid goes down within 1 year, 90% of Americans are dead?
Wow.
And it's like, well, I'm not going to be part of that 90%. And I know that. And neither are my family and neither are my friends. And so the thought of that doesn't instill any fear. It almost excites me. Because it's like, hey, if we reach a point where only the strong survive, then you better figure out a way to be strong. But here's the thing too, is that I think a lot of people think they will develop that strength when the time comes. And it's like, bro, that it's game day.
It's over, bro.
It'd be like you being a professional football player, never attending practice, never watching your diet, never doing
watching film.
Yeah, never doing any of the things you need to do. And then one day they're like, all right, hey, we're going to go play against the Seahawks. Let's see how we do. And it's like, what are you fucking talking about? Sounds preposterous.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing that a lot of people do with their life. They're just kicking the can down the road. And in the meantime, they're neglecting their health. They're neglecting their capacity to build a network of people. And then when that day comes, man, they're going to be lost.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. That word capable, you use that word capable.
Yeah.
That feels like what's important to me. I want to be fucking capable, dude. Whatever comes down.
Isn't that the essence of being a man?
Absolutely.
And I tell my family all the time, it's capability isn't just, oh, if this guy tries to rob me or if this guy tries to break into my house. Like, sure, those are elements of capability. But for example, like me, when I lived down in California, you ever go over the Ortega Highway?
Yeah.
Okay, so we went over the Ortega and did a big hike back there. And I hate to admit this because I'm a very, very good navigator, but I got lost in the woods because I didn't have my map, my compass. I was just going on a family hike, right? And I shouldn't say lost because it's supposed to be a loop, right? And it takes you back to your car. And we took a wrong turn and ended up way out in the middle of nowhere. At any time, I could just retrace the steps that we took back to the car. Yeah. But it was supposed to be like a 3-mile loop, and it ended up being like a 12-mile day.
Oh, wow.
And I had little babies at the time. And so I carried them out of there on my shoulders.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife saying, she's like, that's one of the reasons I married you right there.
Yeah.
Bro, if you can't carry your children out when they need, if something were to occur, then you're not a capable man.
Yeah.
And I'm always very careful when we talk about this. Like, I'm not trying to degrade other people or tear them down, but at the same time, if you can't do some simple things to take care of your family, it's time to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what do I need to do to change? And who knows? Like, you could be leaving here and come up on a car that's on fire and have to drag 3 people out.
Yeah.
If you're not a physically strong and emotionally composed person, you're not gonna be able to do those things.
Yeah.
And I just think as a man and as a leader of your family, you need to be able to confront conflict with confidence. And if you can't do that, I feel like you're shortchanging your family.
1000%, dude. 1000%.
And I also think like you see the Braveheart picture behind me. Like,
I love that.
I mean, Braveheart's my shit, dude.
I felt that when I saw it. I was like, yeah, that's great.
But I feel like, and maybe it's just because the movies were made of the men that were doing big things back then, right? Maybe there were a lot of other men that were just soft and weak and compliant. But I feel like the male of today's society, compared to what it's been for the rest of history, is just kind of given up on himself.
Yeah, a lot of us have. You see it all the time.
And it's like we got all of these young kids, all these men that actually think they're women, and a bunch of weird shit going on. And I don't know. I'll put the tinfoil hat on because I think it's all a master plan. That's what I think, man.
It certainly appears that way.
It does, doesn't it?
The way we're poisoned with food and water, and and
not only poisoned, but they withhold actual things that are beneficial to your health. You know, the COVID was a perfect example of that.
Oh.
Like, if you take ivermectin, you're just this dum-dum that's taken a horse dewormer.
Yeah.
You know? And anybody that said that they had success with it, like Joe Rogan, they had to just paint him out to be a buffoon.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's anything but a buffoon.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that really started this. The beauty of that too, man, is that it showed us how it started to loosen the grip of the hold, of the powers that be, of the media, of whoever's pushing these agendas of weakness, of, because it's like Joe Rogan has a bigger platform than most television stations now.
Combined.
Yeah. Exactly. And so everybody's going, nah, dude, Joe's pretty tapped in.
Yep.
Joe's not fucking around with stuff that doesn't work or doesn't make sense. Joe's not an idiot, you know? So it started to peel back the veil on, oh, who's actually interested in my well-being?
Yep.
I think we saw that big through COVID.
Bro, and
that was revealed.
As fucked up as that period of time was, it was the biggest blessing of my entire life.
Yeah.
It forced me to completely step away from working inside of the government and just coming into my own and being able to live life on my terms and chase my dreams and build my team. And over the last 4 years, I don't think they could have went better. And it's because they pushed and this crazy narrative was being shoved down everybody's throat.
Yeah.
And like you said, it allowed you to open your eyes. You know, and for a long time, I mean, dude, I worked for the government in some capacity as a soldier or as in law enforcement for 20 years.
Wow.
I thought I was the good guy.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, bro, as I've, over the last 4 years, as you start to peel the layers back and see our government and see our media for who they are, now you got to go back and reflect on all the other shit that you've done.
Wow.
Because it's like, why was I in the streets of Ramadi shooting people? Like, what the fuck was that about?
Interesting. Dude.
And, you know, I don't beat myself up over it because here's the deal. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And if you are operating with the best intentions in mind, then it is what it is. You know, I can't look back on that and be like upset with myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I look back and be like, and think, man, we were all just big pawns in their big military industrial complex scheme. And I didn't see it for what it was. But here's the silver lining. They turned us into motherfuckers, man.
Yeah, dude.
You know, I got a bunch of friends that are Rangers and SEALs and Green Berets. And it's like, they don't have fear in their hearts for anything.
Yeah.
So it's like, hopefully their plan backfires one day.
Oh yeah, dude. I think it'll all fall apart. You know, I have a lot of hope, man, because I see a lot of people like you, dude, what you're doing here with this community. It's amazing, dude. I was thinking about that.
I love hearing that.
You've built this incredible community. I mean, there's barely room on the mat, dude.
Isn't that nuts, man?
Barely room on the mat, bro, because there's so many guys and women in here who are just committed to developing themselves.
And bro, people with bad vibes don't come around here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. There's some kind of energy, but it's and obviously people show up here and the vibe isn't congruent with them and they see their way out and it's no harm, no foul. But for whatever the community we've been able to create here has just attracted 200 people that I love.
Yeah.
And bro, like, where else in life do you find that?
Yeah, it's amazing, dude.
I told Jenny last night because I was moved that you were moved because you are also going out and building culture and preaching capability and preaching becoming strong and learning how to like grow into your strongest self. Like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And for you to come to my facility and be like, bro, you're doing good, man.
This is
like, it makes me, it fills me with pride, man.
This is my dream, bro.
Hell yeah.
This is a roadmap for me, what you're doing, you know, creating a space where people come to get better and lift each other up.
Yeah.
Because then all those people are going out into their communities. It's just this ripple effect.
Bro, and that is what I say it all the time, man. You come in here and you watch the kids train.
That blew me away the first day.
Isn't it nuts, man?
To watch these little kids who are they're so calm and focused and know what they're doing and are flipping around and throwing arm bars and choke holds. It's like, dude.
I got this. I think he's like 9 or 10. His name's Ashton.
Uh-huh.
And I told Joao yesterday, I was like, watch him. Because his jiu-jitsu is so good that if he was 200 pounds, I'm pretty sure he'd beat me.
Wow.
And it's like, how is this possible? And Joao looks at me, he goes, bro, how did you teach him to do these things? I said, I didn't. I showed him the basics of armbar, triangle, omoplata, sweep, passing, like the concepts of jiu-jitsu. And he's been able to make them his own in a way that even my brain can't really comprehend. I watched him grab a hold of people and just boom, snap on like this triangle. And then within a second, if the angle's not perfect, he transitions it to a shoulder lock. And it's like, it's some of the crispest jiu-jitsu I've ever seen. And he's just a little kid, man.
It's amazing.
But regardless, like, okay, it's cool to have your star players that like the stars align and they come together and they're very special athletes.
Yeah.
But equally as important as every single other kid on the mat, man, they're facing adversity.
Yeah.
They're being challenged.
Yeah.
They're learning about both winning and losing, because both of those are important lessons.
Big time.
Like if I see kids like get up and be like, yeah, I got you. I'm like, hey, hold on a second. Like, do you think that boy that just tapped out doesn't already understand that you got him? Everybody already knows what happened. You know what happened. He knows what happened. Yeah. So why would you have to celebrate it and boast about it in front of him? Because do you think that makes him feel good? And it's like, I have these conversations almost nightly with these kids, and you can see it in their eyes. The light turns on and they're like, oh yeah, you know? And man, think about being able to learn about all of this stuff. I mean, you probably did. I'm assuming you were into athletics since you were a little kid.
Oh,
Yeah. See, like, and that's why I preach it so much. It can be jiu-jitsu or it can be whatever, but there's so many life lessons that are learned through athletics that it's imperative to have your kids in them.
So imperative.
But the thing is, for most human beings, once you graduate high school, that journey's pretty much over. And then there's a few exceptions who have a collegiate career. And then there's even a smaller few exceptions that go on to actually have a professional career.
Yep.
But 99% of America, after you're 18, you're not part of a team. You're not part of, you don't go compete in any type of sport. And the reason why jiu-jitsu is taking over like wildfire is because it allows people to continue to pursue those things. And dude, you get to have play. Like jiu-jitsu is play. It's an adult version of play.
Totally, man.
We're touching each other. We're sharing energy. We're also competing. We're trying to win. All those things. Why do so many of us just say, hey, at 18 years old, we're done playing?
Yeah, I think we're missing out, man. We're missing out. This morning, Riley and I were talking about this great book. He opened up this book. It's like a workbook for another book written by this guy, John Eldridge, called Wild at Heart. And it's about men, manhood, masculinity.
Is that the one that's also built around faith, right?
Yes.
Okay, I've read that.
Amazing book, dude. And he took a lot of his stuff about masculinity from this guy, Robert Bly, who wrote a book called Iron John. Talks about the spirit of manhood, which is all of this, you know. And in Wild at Heart, he talks about when you're a little boy, you watch little boys play, it's all like adventure games. It's like cowboys and Indians. It's guns. Riley was telling the story. Him and his buddies played a game basically where they were SEAL Team 6 and they were doing these operations to go like egg their teacher's house late at night, you know? It's like, obviously it wasn't an honorable mission, but we were like all
it's
in.
It's also little boy shit.
Yeah,
right?
dude. That's what we do. And at some point we put the sword down or we put that thing away because we think people don't like it or it's too aggressive. Kind of if you, as we all sort of fall into at one point or another in our lives, that cultural stigma of masculinity and violence being a bad thing.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how coming into jiu-jitsu was like reclaiming the sword.
Yeah, I love that.
And reclaiming our masculinity in this, like this warrior essence that's built into being a man, or that, you know, many of us crave. I crave it. You know, I crave to go fight the dragon.
Yes.
Dude, you know, and
bro, I am drawn to conflict. And I know and that's not always a good thing. I understand that. Like if someone flips me off in the car, I don't have the yoga Zen master that you have yet.
Yeah.
And it's like, what motherfucker? And I'm trying to get better, but the point is like, there's something inherent inside of us
Yeah.
that like, oh, it's go time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude.
And it's, to deny that is not being truthful.
It's a death, it's a death. Like you were saying, a lot of men in today's day and age are totally lost because they don't have they're into porn, they're into drinking and their Sunday football. Nothing wrong with the Sunday football. Porn, I think, is incredibly destructive because that's just like this outlet when you have no idea how else to express your manhood.
What I don't understand about porn, I mean, if people want to watch porn, I don't know if it's the end of the world, but like,
sure,
dude, you're a grown ass person.
Mm-hmm.
Go meet another person and have real powerful sexuality. Like, isn't that's part of what we're here to do?
Yeah, totally.
But I think the porn like almost stifles that urge to seek it.
It does
in real life.
Yeah, that's
and
the
it's
problem.
like you're actually slitting your own throat here.
Yeah,
because if you weren't doing that, maybe you'd have a hot chick or two.
yeah, totally, man. Well, it deadens the desire. It deadens the fire. We need that fucking fire stoked, man.
Yeah.
So that we can be the men that we are destined to be. We can build what we're destined to build, but we do these things that sap our energy. It saps our energy. It deadens the fire. So then we're walking around with this fake sense of accomplishment, essentially. And so your soul feels that. It feels deadened by that.
Yeah, for sure, man.
So that's why I think things like Jiu Jitsu, again, why it's on the rise, why it's becoming this really popular thing. It's because it's this incredible opportunity to reclaim the sword,
And bro, a lot of people, I think, because I've heard, the CrossFit community is literally 50 yards from us, right?
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of crossover. And I've heard through the grapevine that, because there's a few guys that train over there that come train over here. And my wife overheard a conversation one day. I was like, so what's going on over there? Is that like Taekwondo or something? And it's like, oh, they're completely out of touch with what we're doing. And because they don't understand it, I don't think they understand the validity that's attached to it. Because Riley's buddy, Sam, that he brought yesterday, he's trained over there for a while, I guess. This is his first time deciding to step on the mats, and he felt the realness of it.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah, totally, man.
Same with Riley last night. And that's why I wanted to get around with Riley, because I watched him on Monday and I was like, okay, he's a super athlete.
Yeah.
Very clear, high level functioning athlete.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to feel black belt pressure. Because black belt pressure does one of two things to people that are built like him. It either makes them say, oh, fuck, dude, I don't want to feel.
I'm out.
I don't want to feel that anymore. Because if you're an athlete like him, you're not used to a guy pinning you on the ground and holding you down against your will.
Yeah.
Or they go 180 degrees the opposite direction and they say, whatever you know, I must know.
Yeah.
And that was him instantly, dude.
Yeah.
And I love that you guys went home and talked about it and like shared that understanding that it's like, oh, this is. How did you articulate it? You picked up your sword?
Reclaiming the sword.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah. He feels like the same as I do. I mean, I feel like my body, I feel so sore. It's like being in training camp again.
Yeah.
I miss the pain, bro.
Of course.
I miss the pain,
Because the pain means you're putting in work.
Yes.
And we've done it for so long.
Yeah.
That your brain correlates it to that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on purpose. We're doing work. We're developing ourselves.
Yeah.
And he feels the same way. Like something's been turned on. The fire's been stoked, dude. And
it's crazy that I told him last night, I'm like, bro, we've been neighbors for 10 years, but you're here. That's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think part of it, like you said, that through the grapevine, you've heard those conversations. What are they even doing over there? Like, what's going on? And I think that there comes a time when you start to think about it in a new way. You start to, it become like, for me, the reason I'm just having so much fun out here is because, like you said about the not having to be the leader anymore, I get to be a fucking student.
Yeah.
I love being a student when it's something that I love to do. I want to develop myself in this. I want to become a master of this.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to be a black belt teaching stuff with you, dude.
Fuck
one
yeah.
day.
Bro,
You know?
hey, we've already spoke some things into reality.
I know.
And you just spoke more into reality.
Yeah, bro.
I have no doubt that that's going to be the case.
I want to be, you know, I'm already a dangerous guy.
Yeah, of course.
I want to be dangerous and know that no matter what comes at me in my life, I have the capacity to handle it.
Yes,
you know?
dude.
And I feel like this is already, because you go in there and yes, it's play, but when we start sparring,
Doesn't feel like play.
I'm going to do everything I can to kick your ass.
Yeah.
You know, this is a street fight. It's like, this is a fight to the death.
Yes.
You know, and I'm going to stop right when if I get the tap, or, if you get the tap, we're going to stop there, but it's really, you feel that in your body. Like the soreness to me is this, I'm giving it everything I have, Well,
bro, and that is one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu is such a special martial art, because we can come at each other at 100% and come out relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
As long as we're smart.
Yeah.
There are terrible training partners, but again, that's a cultural problem, right? Our gym doesn't have many of those guys.
Yeah.
Some of the younger super athletes that grew up wrestling, I have to rein them in sometimes. Unless they're going against each other. I say, you guys want to murder each other, please do. But if you go with one of our girls, and like I had that talk yesterday, because there's a lot of people here that I didn't know. And bro, sometimes you'll look over and a new white belt that doesn't know anything is just fucking strangling the shit out of a young lady. And it's like, all right, bro, like, fuck, man. Tone it down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You have to, but that is also one of the keys and one of the powers of jiu-jitsu is it teaches you to be able to adjust your intensity from 1 through 10, depending on what the situation calls for. And bro, that's going to be the reality out there too.
Yeah.
What was it like for you then? I mean, so Monday was your first, you said you grappled when you were a kid.
I did
obviously,
a lot of grappling in high school.
You played professional football. You're not averse to hard work and pain and all the things that happen with that. But what was it like being in a gi for the first time, feeling like stuck in certain positions, or another thing that people experience is like, you're a big, powerful person, but in certain positions, you can't really express your power.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like? Because you were smiling the whole time.
I have to say, dude, it was so fun.
Okay.
It was so fun. And I think that my gifting there is that I've come into this totally open to learn. So I'm not trying to force it. Like I'm like, okay, this is how it feels. And I'd be really patient, focus on breathing, see where I can go with it. What's the thing I can do? That's something that blows my mind about it, is how cerebral it is.
Bro, yes.
It's so, so I could just use all the patience I've developed in yoga and meditation, find myself in a position that feels like totally awkward and uncomfortable, and go, okay, I'm just going to breathe and I'm going to see where he's trying to go. Because a lot of it now is like, I'll get into a position and I'm not sure what to do next.
Yeah.
And so and I've been going against some great guys who are way more experienced than me, and rolling with you, I felt like, dude, I'm just learning so much here. Where to go, where not to go, how you can get me, what's a bad place to be in, what's a good place to be in, what can I do when I find some sort of answer, how much of my physicality can I use? Let me use my weight. Let me work on wearing him down. Let me, work on these things that I feel really intuitive about. But honestly, man, I'm just having so much fun. I mean, it feels like this is what I like. Kat asked me last night. She was like, what does it feel like for you in there? I said, totally natural. It's totally natural and intuitive. I'm like, I know, I understand it.
Dude, it's so crazy because a lot of big, strong, athletic men that are used to just being a powerful human being, once they're put in a position where it's like some weaknesses are being exposed, it's not an enjoyable experience. But you've become in touch with yourself to a point where showing some of the weaknesses is actually a gift, and you're embracing it. And the fact, what you just said is something that I preach to my fucking students on a nightly basis. And it's crazy that day one, you've already connected the dots, but it's like, hey, when you find yourself in a bad position, do exactly that. Take a couple deep breaths. I tell the kids, I always preach box breathing. 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Once you can control your breathing patterns in a fight, now you have control of your physiology.
Totally, man.
And once you have control of your physiology, instead of feeling panic or anxiety, you can have more of a cerebral approach and be like, okay, I'm stuck in a triangle and I'm on the verge of being tapped out. What can I do here? I got about 8 more seconds. Like even at the end of the road, when you're in a terrible position, if you've been there enough times, you can actually have calmness and be cerebral.
Yeah.
Let alone like if someone has you in mount or side control, it's like the end of the fight is nowhere near.
Yeah.
So you can just calm yourself down and then you can decide what is next.
Yeah.
And it's, I was talking to some of the guys at the lake at Heal and Flow. I was like, think about running wind sprints and playing chess at the same time.
Yeah.
Because there are times in jiu-jitsu when your body has to redline.
Yeah.
But you can't redline for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means you have to manage your energy and you have to turn it up when you need to turn it up and you have to turn it down when it's safe to turn it down. And that in itself is very difficult for a lot of people. The new white belt they're notorious for just
burning out
45 seconds of blitzkrieg. And then they can't even move for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're blown out.
And that's natural too, because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And that in itself is probably one of the biggest benefits of a self-defense perspective. Because it's like, you do that out on the streets and you blow your load and you now have that, your lungs feel like they're bleeding.
Yeah.
You're no longer combat effective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was Riley's mom's name again?
Krista.
So I don't know if you heard her ask me, but she said, would you be interested in putting together like a women's self-defense seminar?
That'd be dope.
Well, here's the thing though. I said, I could put together a block of instructions to teach you some positions, teach you some different ways to break a grip or I don't know, impose a blow or a strike or something. But I said, unless you do live reps, it'll never work. So I can teach you all these things, but I said, typically when women ask me about this, I say, I can't do that because if I show you these moves and give you this sense of confidence and send you out into the world and say, all right, if you get attacked, you have these tools in your belt. And then when they get attacked, what's going to happen? They're going to go into vapor lock and nothing that we worked is going to be applicable because, and tell me if this is probably the case in football too. If you have to have a conscious thought pattern on what's next, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like you have to drill it until it becomes intuitive.
Yes.
And you're still thinking, don't get me wrong, but it's,
your body's done the reps.
You go into flow state.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you want to win fights, you have to be able to go into flow state.
Yeah. You don't want to be thinking.
And
that was something I told Kat last night.
Yeah.
Cause she came home. She loved it too. And was like feeling the beginner kind of.
Well, dude, my purple belt, Christy Campbell, the girl she worked with, she's like, that girl is a beast.
Yeah, she's a beast. Dude.
Yeah, like just a very, very natural grappler. And she said a lot of the same things that you were saying, how like Kat would be like, hold on a second, like right here, show me the angle you moved your hips again.
Yeah.
And like she told me the type of questions that were coming from her. She goes, "There's no way it's her first day." It's like, dude, she's not telling you a story, you know?
Yeah. I love that, dude. But I was saying, so much of it is you got to not overthink it. Don't overthink the stuff. Like, some of the stuff we were learning from Joao yesterday. You're watching it and it's first day. And Monday we did some more fundamental stuff.
Yes.
It was a better warm up. And then Kat comes and, he's teaching us like half locks and the coyote getting out of that and going under the legs and crazy shit.
I didn't figure out coyote half guard till I was a brown belt. So that puts it into perspective, right?
Yeah. But then it's like, okay, what's the gist? What am I trying to do? What's the concept here? It's like so much of football is learning the concept.
Yeah.
And then, because for me, that would help you understand what's the objective here. And essentially the idea is putting yourself in position with these drills so that you understand when you get into a position, how to get out of it or where you want to go with it.
So bro, you already know jiu-jitsu then. You know the concept of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because it's identical. It sounds like it's just done with one body versus one body as opposed to, bro, I'm not a football guy. So
yeah.
How many people are on the field at any given time?
11 on 11, So
we can still be best friends. Right?
Yeah, of course, dude. No, but it's the same. It's the same because it's 11 guys.
Are you a nicotine person?
I'll have a little, turn up with this.
A little zen.
So it's like, okay, I don't need to worry about all of that stuff right now. Let me understand the gist of where I'm trying to go. And then it's like, oh, this is why we're doing it. Because I want to get leverage. I want to get him off his hips, get him off his base so that I can move him and manipulate him the way I want him to go. Let me figure out the actual techniques of like wrapping this arm around his thigh and this one under and grabbing the hamstrings, lifting the hips and then rolling him, but because at first it just looks like another language,
and it is.
Yeah, totally.
I tell people all the time,
it's a total
language. Jiu-jitsu is a language.
Yeah.
And you have to learn it.
Yeah.
The cool thing, bro, it's such a blessing how everything came together because Guns and Gis curriculum was built around, hey, people are going to see this on Instagram and they're going to sign up.
Yeah.
And some of them are going to be black belts and some of them have never stepped on the mats one day in their life. So how do you build a program that brings both of those people value?
Yeah.
And I may be a little biased, but we fucking nailed it.
I love that, dude.
We nailed it.
I believe it.
Because it's a process of like crawl, walk, run from the basic fundamentals. And then we build forward over 3 days. And you'll hear us talk about it tonight during the in-brief. I'm very upfront with people. Like, if you can't fight your way out of a wet paper bag today, on Monday morning, you're not going to be a UFC fighter. Okay. You're probably still going to suck. And that's not me trying to fucking be mean to you, but nobody got good at anything in 3 days ever.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. What we want to do is expose people to the foundation of what makes you a capable grappler or shooter.
Yeah.
Then after you leave here, you have this base level of knowledge that you either build off of or it evaporates if you don't keep filling it up. And so that's why this program comes with a gi and it comes with a white belt, because it's like, hey, you're stepping into jiu-jitsu. You're going to need this now. And we want everybody that attends Guns and Gis to go back throughout the country, wherever they're from, and continue to seek training.
Yeah.
And more than like the knowledge and the actual specific skill sets you're going to build on the mat or with your pistol is going to be a fire to be better and a fire to keep building these skill sets. And I'm so excited for you, man.
Me too, dude. I'm so fucking stoked about it. I can't.
And dude, I'm excited to take you out to my range. It's 12 minutes from here. It's 30 acres in the woods.
It's amazing.
The property's bordered by a river. And it's just beautiful out there.
Yeah.
And
I'm ready to move, dude.
Let's go, man. I would love that.
No, I know, dude. I'd be here every day.
A lot of people talk a lot of shit on Washington. Similarly, that they talk about California.
Yeah.
Because the political scheme here is
So bizarre.
Pretty skewed, right?
Yeah.
But you can't let that be something that overshadows all the good, right? And I loved my time in California. I mean, I worked downtown LA for years.
Wow.
And don't
In
get
law enforcement?
Yes.
Wow, dude.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. The reason we moved is I didn't want to raise children there. I don't.
Totally.
You know,
get
it's
it.
just
Yeah.
there's something about that area.
I get it.
And then the other thing is, if to live in Los Angeles, you either have to be wealthy,
Yep,
or fuck it, you're in the ghettos.
yeah.
There's like nothing in, there's no middle class families.
Yeah.
So I worked in LA, but my house was in Lake Elsinore.
Good God.
75 miles one way.
Yep.
Twice a day.
Oh yeah.
So it's 4 hours on the freeway. And it's
wow,
like,
dude.
And here's the weird thing. At the time, I was just doing the thing.
Yep.
Hey, this is my job. This is how I feed my family and pay my bills. It is what it is.
Yep.
A lot of times I'd catch the train in Corona and just ride it all the way into Union Station. But I knew that there wasn't a lot of longevity in LA for me.
Yeah.
But that's also LA. There's places all over California, some of the most beautiful places on planet Earth.
Totally, man.
And Washington's the same.
Yep.
Next year when you guys come up, because this is going to be an ongoing thing until you get your black belt.
Yeah, totally.
I'll take you on some of the hikes out in these mountains. Like Washington's the most beautiful place on planet Earth.
It really is, man.
And I'm not going anywhere because I don't like Governor Inslee. It just doesn't make sense to me. I was born here.
Yeah.
This is my home too. You're not
Totally.
And the other side of that is if you let people push you out, bro, the problems are just going to follow you.
Absolutely. Dude.
So wherever you're at, set your roots and fight back.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I get fucking hammered on Instagram to go into politics. Maybe when I'm older, but I'm not ready for that right now.
Yeah.
And also,
you're doing it right now, dude.
That's the thing. I'm building up my community in the manner that I know how to do right now.
Yeah.
And I'm content with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're doing more work than you could ever do
in politics.
In politics.
I like hearing that because that just
you're changing people on the you're changing the boots on the ground. You know what I mean? And that's really where it starts. That's the thing about all this shit that's going on in the world. It's like it can be as insane as it's going to be. The only answer ever is to keep developing yourself, keep developing the individuals, because the individuals change and the society changes.
Yep.
You know, so like you were saying, even when you're posing the question to any men out there who you can't pick your kid up off the floor, or if you were on a hike, you couldn't carry your kid out when they got tired or you got lost. You know, the thing is, you can change like that.
100%.
You can start today and become the man you were destined to be.
And here's the most interesting thing about that journey. Stephen Hand is a perfect example of that. The guy you were working with yesterday.
I love Steve, man.
Dude, he's rad.
He's the best.
He's down like 100 pounds.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
He showed up here and he did one practice and he's in the Navy and he's getting out of the Navy now. So he's in that part of life where it's like a new beginning, nerves, all the things we talk about, right?
Yeah.
But he comes up to the front desk. He goes, "Sign me up." And I kind of half jokingly say, "Hey, I know I'm a good coach, but I'm kind of a shit businessman because I don't want your membership yet. I want you to train with us for a week or two, feel the vibe, feel the culture, make sure you're all in, and then become a team member. Because if you like get all spun up on day one and then you sign up and then it's like, oh fuck, this is a little harder than I thought, or I'm having trouble committing, then you're just going to cancel your membership and there was no point for all of that to transpire. I want people here that want to commit."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Hey, I appreciate you telling me that. I want to sign up right now." I was like, I'm picking up what you're throwing down. You're in. And he's been all in. And with the
he's a great guy to work with.
He's a great guy, man. And the point of bringing that up is you can be 100 pounds overweight. And if you step on the path and commit to the path, tomorrow you're already better.
Yeah.
You might only be down 2 pounds and now you're 98 pounds overweight. And that may not seem like the place you want to be.
Yeah.
But in relation to where you were yesterday, it's a win.
Totally.
And
man.
if you stack wins, man, it fills your soul, dude.
Absolutely, brother.
And there's a lot of people here that showed up. Like Riley's the opposite. He showed up super athlete who just needs to learn jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people learn the athletic, developing into an athlete very slowly through the process. And man, that journey for a lot of people is so empowering.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. I mean, even just doing the 2 classes, I'm like, fuck, this is what it's all about, developing myself in this skill. I kept telling my brother, because my brother's been doing jiu-jitsu for a couple of years and Muay Thai boxing. My brother's fucking lethal right now. And he's been doing like 1-2 classes a day for probably 3 years. It's just he's gotten sober over the last couple of years and found his way into jiu-jitsu and martial arts, and it's just totally changed him. And he would say to me, yeah, the guys, they want you to come in and do jiu-jitsu. And I just wasn't quite ready, like going through a divorce and like kind of figuring out where I'm at. But I could see in him this skill set. And I started saying to him recently, I'm like, I just want to develop my skills as a man. And just coming to these 2 classes, I feel like I'm already feeling that. Yeah. Like I know light years more now in, 6 rounds of sparring over the last 2 days that I didn't have before. I'm that much more capable. Like watching a fight now is a completely different experience.
Yes.
It's like getting to watch how does a guy take him down when you're in that real fight situation. How are you taking a guy down? What are you doing? How are you positioning your body? When you get to the ground, what are you looking to achieve? What's the objective here? What are you going for to loosen the defenses or get past this guard, or all those things that were just completely invisible to me before? Like you said last night, so much of jiu-jitsu is invisible.
Yeah.
Until you feel it.
Until you feel it.
Until
and
you
then develop that understanding.
Totally, man. And it's super empowering. It's super empowering. So anybody, I'm sure all your listeners are probably already on the wave.
They love jiu-jitsu episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure. Dude.
I used to worry because when I started this podcast, it was a result of the fallout of me getting fired as a police officer. And because I was a police officer and a soldier, a lot of that demographic was drawn to my show.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started talking about jiu-jitsu all the time. And I was like, I'm not going to change who I am for the listeners, but I also wonder, like, man, how much jiu-jitsu stuff do people want to consume? And I found that the answer is a lot.
A lot. Yeah, a lot.
Because once you feel it and you get that bug, it's a very interesting subject to dive into.
It's so fascinating, dude. It's so fascinating. How do you tangle with a person?
Yeah. And the takedowns, and I don't want to talk poorly about any other academy because everybody does what they do, right? But my professor, Joao Assis, who you met yesterday, he's 7-time world champion, and he also won ADCC, which I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the Olympics of jiu-jitsu.
Right.
It's the best guys in the world, but they compete in shorts. It's no gi. It's no gi.
Yeah,
right?
I wanted to ask you, because we're going to be doing, I haven't done the no gi yet. And I'm curious what the difference is and why do you do that?
The gi, well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people think that the gi is not applicable to real world altercation. And I tell people it's the opposite of what you think because human beings wear clothes.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for
clothes
sure.
are gis.
And
as a cop, I've grabbed plenty of people and got control of an article of clothing. And now I have a gi grip. And it's like you felt on our round, I control high on your left shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm always hanging weight on your left shoulder.
Yeah.
So your posture, your spine is pulled out of alignment and then your posture is broken down a little bit.
Yeah.
And bro, just little tiny things like that.
Yeah.
It makes it really difficult to fight.
Yeah.
When you're out of alignment.
Absolutely.
And so the gi is very, very important to learn how to manipulate people. The gi teaches you the finesse of grappling because if I grab you here versus an inch higher, it changes the dynamics of how I can manipulate your body.
Mm.
Whereas no-gi, it's a lot more scrambly.
Mm.
It's a lot more, it's like you're just slippery because
Yeah.
we don't have all the
Stuff
connection
to grab
points.
onto.
So then you have to learn how to control people with underhooks, overhooks, collar ties, locking the waist, shooting and controlling the knees.
Yeah.
And it's different, but it's also, obviously it's also similar.
Yeah.
And so I am a proponent of training both. Some guys only do one or the other, which is cool. Like Gordon Ryan, are you familiar with him?
Yeah, that's what I was. Is he the current ADC?
He's the current,
champ?
yes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't put a gi on.
Ever?
No. But it's also because he's the best in the world at what he does.
Right.
It would be like you when you were playing for the NFL. Are you going to go to rugby practice?
Right.
It doesn't really make sense, right? Because gi and no gi are different. So from a professional athlete standpoint, he's chasing his dream and he's the king right now. So it doesn't make sense for him to train in a gi.
Right. Yeah.
Another example is, have you ever heard of Marcus Buchecha?
I think so.
So he won the world title 13 times.
Wow.
I was texting him. I sent him a picture of you last night because he was going to come here, but then he had prior commitments.
Okay.
He wants to do Guns and Gis, and he's like your size. He's
really?
Fucking monster.
He's a beast.
265 with abs.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, we have your training partner here, but you couldn't make it. And he's like, oh damn, bro.
Oh, that would be fun, dude.
But he went from being the gi world champion to now he's fighting MMA.
Oh, wow.
And so he doesn't put a gi on anymore. I mean, he does to teach seminars and to just still be immersed in the jiu-jitsu culture. But for his professional training, it's primarily no gi now because he fights in a cage and a pair of shorts.
Right.
It's not as applicable.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to build a path for what works for you. But what I see is a lot of guys that grew up wrestling, they put a gi on, and now a lot of their skills are kind of diminished because there's so many new control points.
Interesting.
And they're like, I don't want to fucking put the gi on. That thing's gay.
Yeah. I love it, dude. I love the gi. I love when they started, I mean, how old is jiu-jitsu?
Well, I mean, the lineage of jiu-jitsu goes back to really like Japanese judo and jiu-jitsu, right?
Interesting. Okay.
But primarily in Japan, it was throws.
Okay.
And then there are some joint locks, like straight arm bars and kimuras and whatnot. But then the Gracie family took that base of knowledge of Japanese jiu-jitsu and then really, really put a huge emphasis on the ground fighting aspect of it. Because it's like, hey, I think in judo, once it hits the ground, you have like, literally, it's like 20 seconds or something. And people are probably listening to me like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about, okay? But what I do know is that in judo, if they try and get a throw, but it's not an ippon, meaning it's not a fight-winning throw, that there's a very limited amount of time on the ground, and then you stand back up.
Oh, okay.
So that really diminishes the capacity for playing the long ground game.
Yeah.
Where the Brazilians shifted it to like, no, we want to emphasize on the long ground game.
Right.
And play that out until you have a winner and a loser. And, a lot of people say most street fights end on the ground. So let's really hone that ground side of grappling. And it's crazy to think like, I mean, I was 13 when the UFC came out and Hoist Gracie went and strangled everybody.
Yeah, dude.
And my dad, there's this like little hole in the wall VHS rental place. It was called Beverage Express.
Dude, I remember watching these, dude.
And my dad rented it and we watched it and it's like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And I was a 13-year-old kid. I didn't have an understanding of any real martial arts anyways, other than a couple of years of wrestling. But it was very apparent that this small, skinny guy went out there in a gi and fucking beat everybody.
Yeah.
And you want to hear something interesting?
I did this podcast with Mike Tyson called Hot Boxing for 2 years. And we had Hoist on the pod.
That's rad,
Yeah,
dude.
it was awesome. Because I remember watching
Did Hoist smoke with you guys?
I don't think so. No, I don't. He didn't, but Mike smoked enough for everybody. So, but it was cool because I remember seeing those.
Because that's my cannabis cabinet. So
oh, good, dude. You got that locked down.
But since we got our in brief, I'm not I'm not a fucking a day smoker.
Yeah, good.
But so do you know who Rickson Gracie is?
Yeah.
Rickson is Royce's older brother.
Right.
He's back in the day, he was a jacked stud. With traps up to his ears and he was shredded. He was doing breath work and cold plunges and stuff back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And initially they're like, hey, let's have Rickson just go into the UFC and maul everybody. And then they're like, yeah, but that doesn't show the power of jiu-jitsu because Royce is way smaller than Rickson.
He's like a wiry dude.
He's way weaker than Rickson. We want to show that jiu-jitsu works with leverage and technique, not because you're a super athlete. Yeah. And so they didn't put Rickson in intentionally.
Interesting.
They put Royce in and it worked perfectly.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They showed the world jiu-jitsu.
It's amazing, dude. Now it's becoming ubiquitous, it feels like.
Yeah, if you can't be in the UFC without good jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
You don't have to have great jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
There's still UFC fighters that I'm like, how did he not get that guard pass? But at the same time, I've fought MMA before. I'm the first to tell you a jiu-jitsu fight and an MMA fight are very different. There's things that work that don't work, but I'm also not doing jiu-jitsu. The only reason, or I should say, I'm not only doing jiu-jitsu for self-defense and fighting.
Uh-huh.
If I were to find out I would never get in another physical altercation, I'm still going to be training Monday night.
Yeah.
It has little to do with that at this point,
Yeah, totally, man. It's really an art. It's really it's almost a spiritual practice.
It is, man. Well, how long are your podcasts? As long as you want?
I usually go for an hour, but if we're really jiving, just keep it rolling.
Well, since we're releasing on both platforms, I've been fucking yapping about what I do in jiu-jitsu for the last hour, but I want my listeners to hear about your journey of Heal and Flow and the value that you bring people and the workshops that you teach, because, man, they all go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, dude, I've been thinking, I don't know how you feel about this. I know you got a lot going on and you're killing it with everything you're doing, but I was thinking, man, it would be cool to do a collab event with Greg that's like yoga jitsu.
I'm in.
I'm
in, bro.
Because it's so, like I said, my gift coming into this, obviously I'm physically gifted. I'm an athlete, I'm not going to toot my own horn there, but the thing that for me allows me to have so much fun in there is that I've cultivated this immense capacity to endure discomfort, mental, emotional, physical, because like you said, the challenge, it might be a confrontation, a physical confrontation, but we experience fucking heavy emotions. We experience overwhelming thoughts.
Yes.
Like talking about Greg when he was dealing with all these life issues coming out of the military and he's like ready to put a gun in his mouth. I've been there. I was at 2016, 2 years out of football. I hated who I saw in the mirror. It was kill myself or change. It was like start living differently or that was it. And I didn't have a choice. It was complete rock bottom for me. My marriage was falling apart. Didn't know how to relate to anybody. The 2 hours in the gym wasn't cutting it anymore. Smoking as much weed as I possibly could wasn't bringing me relief anymore. Porn wasn't working anymore. There were no escape valves left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had to confront myself. And that led me into yoga. It led me into men's groups. It led me to therapy. It led me into meditation. I met two of the most important mentors of my life who really helped me turn the perspective back inward to go, okay, I need to start living with integrity. I need to start living in my truth. I need to start seeking out and living out this peace that I crave, that I'm desperate for. And I just started doing all of these things. And like you said, as a lifetime as an athlete, I'm accustomed to adversity. So that's not the issue. So I could do these things, and I through that practice, really coming back to yoga and hot yoga, Bikram in particular, I would say, is so applicable to everything you experience in here psychologically, because you're just broken down to your bones. You're in this room, it's 105 degrees. You've got 26 postures, 2 breathing exercises. It's 90 minutes. And if you don't learn how to breathe, you're going to be confronted by every one of your demons in those 90 minutes. And you're going to have to just sit there because you can't leave. That's one of the rules. You're not allowed to leave the room. Yeah, and people do, because they completely break down. It's too much. Their heart rate's through the roof, their nervous system, they're in complete fight or flight. They're thinking about the traumatic event that happened when they were 10, all the stuff, every mistake they've ever made. It just comes like a waterfall bearing down on you, and you have to manage all of that energy that's moving through you that's really fucking uncomfortable. And, you've done ayahuasca, you've done plant medicine, and it's the same thing. We come face to face with our demons, with our difficulty, with the things, the dark parts of ourselves that we're uncomfortable with, that we don't want anybody to see. And we get to have an experience of it when we remove judgment, we remove the criticism, and we just get to feel the stuff and recognize that there's going to be light on the other side of that tunnel. This too shall pass. So, coming out of football is totally broken down. And like I said, 2016 hit complete rock bottom. My whole life was falling out from underneath me. And I just had to start living differently, and I had to start making new decisions, and the practice of that has given me this immense capacity and these tools for developing well-being and developing peace inside. If you're at peace, like you said, man, if you can be at peace in the midst of chaos, if you can be in your breath when you're pinned to the mat and feel like there's no escape, you've got a lot of options.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of space to move in, and so creating Heal and Flow was, I didn't even, honestly, Kat came into my life and she said, we had met at a wellness, like a yoga retreat where I was teaching and she was running the event. And about a year later, she came to me and was like, hey, would you want to do your own events? Like, I can run it, you can teach it. And so I think there's really something special here, because I felt like I had tapped into these simple practices, these simple ideas that are ancient: moving your body, breathing, connecting with a community of people who are on your wave, eating really nourishing foods, taking supplements that really strengthen and heal your body, help to regenerate your body and your energy and bring you back into balance. And so the process of Heal and Flow is really the process that helped me put myself back together again. Waking up, doing breath work, connecting with people, meditation, doing yoga, challenging yourself in the ice tub, doing things that are really hard, and recognizing that it's only one step away. Like we said, you can be in total rock bottom and you just start making one good decision after another that enlivens you, that inspires you, that gives you energy, that makes you feel impeccable. And little by little, you start to develop your confidence. You start to understand who you are underneath the identity of all the stuff that we've been. Like you said, the psychological journey out of anything is always the same. You've dedicated your whole life to excellence, being great at something, and you did it. You summited that mountain. And then all of a sudden, that you're at the bottom of another valley. It's like, what the fuck do I do now? Where do I go? How did all that happen? And now my best years are behind me. And I think at some point, all of us experience that, because we've been fed a bill of goods that was an illusion.
Yeah.
Go to school, go, make the money, climb the ladder, start a family, do the stuff. And all those things are good things, but that's not really serving you, the spirit inside,
Yeah. A
And
lot of people that doing all the things, like you can do all the things if you're still being intentional about serving yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing all the things because it's simply a routine that you found yourself in,
Or you think you should do, or to get a paycheck.
bro, before you know it, you're just a hamster running in a wheel.
Yeah, man. Everybody that I work with, they're in some sort of transition. They're in a life transition. They're going from one career to another, out of a relationship, and looking at life in a whole new way. And they're like, where do I go? Where do I start? And you start by these simple practices, get in touch with your breath, learn how to breathe, man. That's like 90% of the battle, because most of us are walking around in a constant state of fight or flight just because we got an email from our boss, or we're driving around in traffic, and we've never done anything to expand our capacity to endure that discomfort,
Yeah. Do you have a very specific, like, spur of the moment, get control of my physiology routine? If you are let's say someone fucking cuts you off or whatever, like someone triggers you, are you able to be like, recognize that and then be like, okay, I need to do whatever?
Yeah. I immediately go to my breathing. It's the first thing.
What's your go-to count?
I'll go 4 seconds in, and then a long exhale out, either out the nose or out the mouth, for 6 seconds. Because that long exhale sends a signal to your nervous system that you're in a resting phase. When we go into, think about, we were out in the forest or out in the savannah, primordial humans, and a saber-toothed tiger comes, or one of those giant fucking bears or something. There's an actual
short
predator
bear.
Or someone from another tribe comes to your watering hole, and you feel that intensity, that adrenaline, that cortisol rush, where you're ready to fight. You're ready to fight or run. And so a lot of us, we're not out on the savannah anymore, but we're in daily life, and nobody talks about this stuff. Nobody talks about how, they're all like, it's interesting how the mainstream culture has manipulated ancient spiritual truths, but they don't give you any of the background. They don't give you any context for how to do it. It's just like, do it, be a better person, be kind. And that kindness becomes this manipulation to just allow weird shit to go down.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, but if you can recognize that you're going into that fight or flight situation, all of us have people in our lives that trigger the hell out of us, who are looking for a fight at any moment. Now, imagine if you could come into contact with those people and you can have them say the triggering shit, but you don't react. You're out of that reaction because you've cultivated your breath. You've cultivated space in your consciousness to endure the fire-breathing dragon. Then you've got a lot of options. You can start to respond in a new way that helps you start to ascend and transcend those triggers. You know what I mean? Little by little, it's a practice, just like Jiu Jitsu on the mat. We come into a fucking arm bar out on the freeway, dude.
Yeah.
It's a psychological arm bar, but it's an arm bar. We're in this situation. It feels fucked up and like we can't escape it. So what are you going to do? You can breathe. You can immediately just get into your breath. Start breathing slowly in your nose and out your nose, 4 seconds in, 4 to 6 seconds out. You can do fire breathing. Just go right into it. That always seems to cut the nervous system right in half and rebalance you, because you're oxygenating the blood, you're dilating your blood vessels, you're getting more blood to your brain. When you start breathing in and out of your nose, just by breathing in and out of your nose, dude, you modulate the brain activity by turning down the amygdala. So we get into fight or flight, the amygdala is going crazy. We're pumping adrenaline and cortisol. It's our reptilian brain. It's our survival brain. But we can't make many good decisions when we're in fight or flight. It's fight or run or freeze, do nothing. Just by breathing in and out of your nose, you turn on the prefrontal cortex, your center of executive decision making. So you activate that center of your brain that's in charge of making sound decisions just by breathing in and out of your nose.
When you say fire breathing, is it the really fast in and out? Okay.
And you can experiment with that if you're on a long hike or if you're working out. You're working out and your blood's pumping, your nervous system's going up, your heart rate's going up. Do fire breathing and it'll cut down on the oxygen deprivation that you're feeling.
Okay.
That oxygen hunger. Also, you can just slow it down, totally slow it down. And that sends your body into that rest, digest, recover, detoxify, that more parasympathetically toned response paradigm that we can live in through our nervous system.
Wow, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
it's
and the shit
mind-blowing
works
to me because
it works.
We're supposed to connect, and I'm going to help you develop jiu-jitsu, and you're going to help develop my ability to find calmness in the storm, right? Because I'm great at finding calmness in the storm on the mats.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the outside world I am as well, and then other times I'm not. But everything you're saying, the interesting thing that I'm able to connect the dots, I preach it all the time on the mats, that if you have to breathe through your mouth, you're not managing your energy properly.
Yes, exactly.
So when I roll, I try and nasal breathe only.
That's what I've been working on doing.
Dude, that's so funny.
Yeah. No, it's because just breathing in and out of your mouth, think about if you were back in that survival mode where the predator is looming, you're going to immediately go, you're going to fire up your nervous system. Mm-hmm. Just physiologically, that's the response because you need that adrenaline rush to fucking sprint and jump up the tree.
Yeah.
Or get out of harm's way or put the dagger through the saber-tooth's heart. You need that adrenaline to be able to do that. But now we don't have many of those situations anymore. And even in those situations, if we can slow down our breathing, slow down our nervous system and get into that and sharpen our senses by turning on the prefrontal cortex, dude, it's limitless,
Something I talk to my wife about this often because as a man that's been through a lot of violence, I've told her, like, when you get ambushed in Iraq, right? Or someone starts shooting at you, it's like that big fight or flight dump, you get that. And I feel like the only way that you can dissipate it is to fucking fight back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like when
totally
those hormones fill your body, and when you punch another human being in the face, it's almost like it dissipates that energy.
Yeah. It's like the first hit in the game.
That's what right?
Get the first hit and everything settles in.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's like, since the beginning of time, if our bodies are overwhelmed with fight or flight, we're probably going to have to fight or run.
Yeah.
One of those two things has to happen. And there's a physiological response that our body goes through that is now going to be part of the process to buffer those hormones, right?
Yeah.
Now we get fight or flight, and it's like all that fucking energy fills your body. I'm just sitting behind the wheel of a car going 2 miles an hour, and it's just like, fuck, I need to get this out of me. And it sounds like
you can dissolve
your breathing routines is how you get that out of you.
Yeah, you can dissolve it because your diaphragm, when you get into that fight or flight, your diaphragm gets hiked up, spasms up. And so that cuts off circulation. That cuts off circulation to the low valves of the heart. It also compresses the lower lobes of the lungs. The lungs, you've got 3 lobes. The upper lobe, the middle lobe. On the left side, the middle lobe is just these tubes where the blood from the heart pumps in and out. So that, you take a breath in, your lungs fill with air, all the blood that was saturating your lung tissue, collecting all of the oxygen, gets pumped into the heart and dissipated to your organs, your muscles, your brain. So then when you take that breath in, your lungs fill with oxygen, blood pumps back into your heart. That oxygenated blood goes into your heart, gets dispersed around your body. You exhale. Your lungs empty of the air, they fill back up with blood. The diaphragm when we're in that fight or flight situation, the diaphragm gets hiked up. It gets hiked up. Your diaphragm is also connected to your spine and your nervous system, the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, which is like the super highway of information from your brainstem down into all your organs. And so when the diaphragm is spasmed up, nothing can flow properly. But if you can be in that and allow your diaphragm to relax and settle back down so that when you take that inhale, you can get into the lower lungs, and also your diaphragm can continue to pump the digestive organs, all your so much gray matter in your gut. There's serotonin, dopamine, tryptophan. 80% of it's produced in our gut. And so that happens optimally when our diaphragm is working properly. But when we've spent our whole life in violence and chaos and that fight or flight, our diaphragm is usually spasmed. So it locks off a third of our lung capacity.
Oh.
So think about, when you can mobilize that and be in the adrenalized state of ready for a fight, you're just more effective. You're more available. You have more of your training available. You can be more in the flow state, rather than a little bit tight or a little bit, sort of that, that stiff feeling.
Of course.
When you're locked up.
Yep.
Like anytime you start the sparring, you get in that, you start to feel that pump and you get locked up with a guy.
Yep.
And it's like, you could totally wear yourself out in a moment with your breathing.
Yeah, of course.
Or you can use that energy and keep it flowing through you and move through the process of the grapple, of the jiu-jitsu.
That 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out.
Yeah.
How many repetitions or I should say like sequences of that do you do?
I do it until you feel yourself come down.
Okay, so there's not a one size fits all. It's just kind of get into your body and listen to it.
Yeah, and just let everything settle down and just do it until you feel the calm come over you.
Okay.
And it's a practice, dude. It's not something, like you said, you're not going to come in for a 3-day weekend immersion and be a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
It's a mastery that comes over time that you can really only learn through the experience of it, where the rubber meets the road.
I'm going to try and be very intentional. And the next time some dumb shit happens, I'm going to incorporate that. And I'll be texting you like, bro, your shit worked.
I can't wait, dude. I can't wait. It's totally, and we have so many opportunities to do this in life. And that's another thing I love about the jiu-jitsu, because it's another practice for me to increase that capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's been, hot yoga was the thing for me it's been the thing for me. Doing a sauna. I mean, that feeling when you're in the sauna and your heart rate starts to go and you're like, fuck, I'm about to pass out.
Bro, our sauna here is set up specifically for that.
Yeah.
I put the thermostat at the very bottom. And I had to fucking cap it because Igor, our crazy Russian, was cranking it up to 260. Jesus. And you go in there and it feels like it's burning your ears, and you breathe through your nose and it feels like it's singeing the hairs in your nose. Yeah. I was like, bro, we got to cap it at like 230. Okay?
Yeah, dude.
But still, you're not going to go into any fitness club and have their sauna at 230.
Yeah.
But again, like with the ice and the sauna for me, like you can go listen to Huberman or Dr. Rhonda Patrick to hear all the physiological benefits.
Yeah.
For me, it's more of a mental training tool.
That's what it is, bro.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Because dude, tell me if you've ever, anybody listening, have you ever got out of the ice plunge after 3 minutes and felt like dog shit?
Never.
That doesn't exist.
Doesn't happen.
Because your body's like, yes.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah.
And it forces you to feel good.
Yeah. Well, this morning I've been thinking a lot about Angie is her name.
Yeah. She's fucking rad, bro.
Yeah. And her brand, Prioritize Pain.
Yep.
Her t-shirts.
She'll be with us all weekend. So I'm excited for you to get to know her. She's a powerful human being.
Yeah. She seems like it. And that idea of prioritizing pain and thinking about this idea of these portals that we create, which are opportunities to take a quantum leap. There's always inner conflict. There's always pain involved.
Yeah.
And pain, when you think about that idea of prioritizing pain, it's, not hurting yourself, but it's going into the fire because you know that's a process of purification.
Yes.
And ascension, you know? I mean, look, nobody's better than anyone else, but our life, it moves in a spiral, you know? It moves because we constantly are coming back around to the things that trigger us, to our challenges.
Mm-hmm.
In different forms, in a relationship, in our job, on the jiu-jitsu mat. We're always coming around to the same challenges over and over again. But if you can cultivate your presence, your capacity to endure discomfort, you create that space. So now you start to spiral upwards and you come across the same things, the same challenges over and over again, but now you've got a new perspective. Your head's a little bit above the water and you're looking down at it and you're going, oh yeah, I've been here before. I know what this is like. And now you can make a new decision about it.
Oh, dude, I love this.
Because
we always talk about spiraling with negative connotations.
Uh-huh.
But you're like, you figured out how to spiral and ascend.
Yeah. Well, that's to me, you know, it's creation or disintegration.
Yeah.
Universe. One of my favorite coaches, he was the linebackers coach. You know, I played offensive line, but he always loved me. You know, I was one of those guys that the coaches loved because I was just out there giving everything I had all the time.
Uh-huh.
I was the O lineman running down the field, knocking people off the bodies off the pile, knocking guys off the running back and the receivers, you know. And he would always say every day out in practice, and football is a total, you know, anybody who's done football at a high level, it takes a very specific type of human being, just like being in special ops. You know, it's like, it takes you got to be a little unhinged and you're interested in the battle.
Yeah.
You know, you love the combat, but there are days where you fucking hate it because it's like, this is a grind. This is a life and death thing that I'm endeavored to, you know? And he would say this thing out at practice every day. He'd say, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And I'd be like, man, fuck that. You know, that's bullshit. But it's so true, you know, because you come out every day, you have an opportunity, you have infinite opportunities to practice getting better.
Yeah.
In life, in your relationships, at work, in your skill set, developing your craft, whether it's playing offensive line or working jiu-jitsu. And those days that you want to take it off, or you want to just go slow, or you want to half-ass it, you're just hurting yourself. Mm-hmm. If on those days you can just commit to getting better at one thing, you know, you might not have the Herculean day where you dominate everybody, but today I'm just going to work my fucking pass sets. Today I'm just going to work my guard. Today I'm just going to work this. I'm going to fucking nail this technique. Today you're getting better.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, bro, that was George St. Pierre's entire philosophy too. He's like, it doesn't matter how much better I get each day, as long as I wake up tomorrow a better martial artist than I went to sleep the night before, then it's a win, and that's all I'm chasing. Yeah. And that took him to being the greatest welterweight of all time. Yeah. So the formula works, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And bro, if you follow him on Instagram, he's still every single day doing shit that some people think is weird. Like I think it was yesterday. He's like, today I'm going to see how long I can hang from a bar with one hand. And tomorrow I want to get longer. You know, it's like, what does that have to do with life? Well, everything.
Everything, dude.
Right?
It's everything. It's everything to do with life, because the more you can you continue developing yourself and you get a little better every day. And, you know, as a parent or as a husband or a partner, you know, you have those moments in your relationship where you snap at the kids or you snap at the partner, you take something personally. Now, what if you can practice taking it personally or feeling the anger about whatever the thing is, and then you do a different thing, you make it a learning opportunity for the people around you, or you express the thing that's going on so that you can strengthen the bonds, you know? Yeah. That's getting better. That's getting better every day. And just by making that different decision, and it takes a practice, it takes, and I saw this thing, I came across this guy, I don't even know his name, but it was pretty awesome. And he was like ex-military, like power lifter, Jiu Jitsu. And one post he had was, you're going to fall to the level of your training.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something they say very, very often in the military.
And he said, I always think it's weird when people have this idea that when shit goes down, they're just going to be able to do it.
Just rise to the occasion.
Even very rarely.
Even though you've never felt what having your heart rate at 180 beats a minute feels like.
Yeah.
And now you're going to be able to get there and be comfortable.
Yeah. No.
No,
it's not going to happen.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. But if you train yourself, if you develop yourself, and I think that's, there's an interesting thing in the mainstream consciousness, or whatever it is, the mainstream messaging of, what was I going to say? This mainstream idea of, it's like, it's been politicized, so it's conservatives are going to the gym. Be careful, men.
Yeah,
be careful, men.
White
if you're
supremacists like to work out.
Yeah, it's like
what?
No, dude. No, there's nothing political about developing yourself as a really capable human being. And capable meaning you have the capacity to do you've developed the capacity to endure adversity and do anything in the face of it.
Yeah.
There's this great quote by Robert Heinlein, who was like an incredible science fiction writer. And he said something like, a man should be able to commandeer a boat, change a tire, do electrical work, barbecue a steak, pick up his kid, make love to his woman, and all these things. And then specificity is for insects.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this idea of developing yourself, of being a really capable person. It's actually the essence of being a successful human. It's what's allowed us to survive for so long, is knowing how to do shit.
Yes.
Especially as men.
Of course, man.
Like learn how to grow your own food. Holy shit, dude. You just separated yourself by light years from the herd, man.
Yeah.
And learning the skills to do it. It's like, that's not a political thing. That's a human being thing.
But see, they politicize it because they want to make the people that are doing these things out to look like weirdos.
Right.
Because here's the thing. Once you're capable of doing all the things that we just talked about, you're pretty damn hard to control.
Yeah.
Because I don't need you. I don't need your game. I don't need your rules.
Yeah.
We just go out in the woods and be me.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And whatever it is that I come up against, I'm going to survive. I'm going to thrive. I'm going to fucking conquer it,
Yeah.
So, it's really, I don't think there's anything more important, man. And in this moment in time, especially, and I think a lot of people, obviously your audience is a lot of guys and men and women who are already on this wave, and anybody who's thinking about it or is feeling that call, listen to it. Because this is a moment in time where humanity is going to take a quantum leap. And maybe, I've said this before, perhaps the tribe of humanity is going to split into two sections. The people that want the comfort, the technology, the government complete oversight, or the people who are interested in going back to God, going back to truth, going back to strength and capability.
Well, and the truth of those two paths is one path going with comfort, going with the government. That is more comfortable up front.
Yeah. It's a dead end.
But it's going to get you on the back end.
Yes.
Whereas our path is very uncomfortable up front, but it has longevity to it.
It's infinite.
And so it's like, if people can see that, it's, I'll steal Lappin's quote because he's out of the gym right now. He says, choose your hard.
Totally, man.
Right? Choose your hard, because you can choose your hard with hard jiu-jitsu rounds and eating very, very clean. It can be hard.
Yeah.
Right? You're having to exercise discipline, every bite of food, getting in that sauna, doing your yoga practice, hard, right? Or you can do none of that stuff and you're going to put on 100 pounds
Yeah.
and you're eating fucking high fructose corn syrup and processed foods. And then it gets hard to walk up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
Then it gets hard to just spend the day with your kids at the fair.
Yeah.
Right. And then your body starts to get so sick and weak that just living in your fucking flesh suit becomes difficult.
Yeah.
And so there is no path out of this world without hard.
Absolutely.
But the beautiful thing is we get to choose it.
Yeah.
And I stole that from Lappin. You'll hear him say it this weekend. So I'm giving him credit.
No, it's totally right on. But not only that, the physical hard of choosing comfort that comes, it's that thing, pay for your wellness now or be forced to pay for your illness later.
Yeah,
Same thing, same idea.
Man.
But not only that, for me, it's the psychological burden. It's the mental and emotional burden of resenting yourself, of feeling like you can't do anything because you've chosen that over and over again. What? You've chosen that I can't do the hard thing.
Yes.
So now you've developed this belief inside, and your soul becomes in total conflict with your body and what your body's, your body, the decisions that you're making consciously or unconsciously, depends on how we look at it. Those decisions that you're making to seek out the comfort, that's going against the soul's desire to expand.
Yes.
And so that conflict, that inner conflict in itself, to me, is the even greater hard that I don't want to have to face. I don't want to look in the mirror and go, I don't like that person that I see. And to live with that, that's a fucking brutal existence.
Bro, I love that you said that because my listeners have heard me say this probably 1,000 times over the last 4 years that the show's been going. I honestly think the key to getting over depression is when you look in the mirror, do you like the motherfucker you see?
Yep.
You have to arrive at that. And that doesn't mean you got to be jacked with a six-pack. And all.
Right.
Like when you look at that person, are you proud of what he's doing? Are you proud of who he is? And if you are, you're winning.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're losing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, dude. That doesn't mean like I've made it, I'm good.
Yeah.
I've reached where I'm trying to reach because I'm my own worst critic too. It doesn't matter what percentage body fat I am. It doesn't matter how strong I am. It doesn't matter how good my jiu-jitsu feels. There's still a part of me that's like, you're not there yet. And you have to keep that alive too.
Absolutely.
Right? But it's a balance. But at the same time, I can recognize I'm not where I want to be, but I'm proud of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I think that is the key to being able to get over all of that darkness.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. I think you're totally right. That's what I'm saying about this prioritized pain, what a powerful idea it is, because there's so much growth through pain.
Bro, Angie did my podcast a month or two ago and told her story. You should listen to it sometime.
I will.
Because she came out of a very, very physically abusive marriage and was broken. And then, she left him and had to really redefine herself. Yeah. And me and Jenny and her, like, we really rallied and I helped raise her boys who are grown now.
Amazing.
And it's it brought our families very close together as she was going through a lot of pain. But she became an absolute super athlete and just started pushing herself to these limits that, if I'm being honest, I tell her all the time, I used to live with teams of SEALs and Rangers. The shit that you do to yourself even makes me go, what the fuck, dude?
Wow.
Like she's figured out a way to just fucking push and push and push. And what it does is on the back end, it brings her peace.
Yes.
And it's cool, man.
Yeah.
And she's 47 years old, dude.
Yeah.
And she's learned this lesson over the last 10 years and is really grown into her own now. And I think that's an important thing to put out there too, because it's like, I went through a lot of darkness in my 20s. You said yours was in your 20s, but there's no roadmap.
Yeah.
Like everybody goes through these phases where they have to rediscover who they are and start and step into their new mission. And you might be 20 and you might be 40, but it's all the same shit, man.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. There's so much power in that, in living through the fire.
Well, we'll be sure to send you out of here with some prioritized pain apparel.
I can't wait.
Told her she needs to go find some 2X.
Yeah. Going to be rocking it, man.
Well, fuck, bro. We're coming up on 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple things that need to be imperative. Every time you come up, we're going to train some jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
We're going to train some yoga and some breath work. And Angie's dad lives on the lake right down from Riley. So
sweet,
we
man.
got multiple lakefront locations. We can go sit in the lawn and do our plunges and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then we just sit down and record every time too.
Yeah, I would love that.
Because I tell people all the time, it's like, on one hand, I do enjoy putting out a good product that people are going to consume. But if I had forgot to hit record and it was just you and me sitting in here, it is just as much worth my time because I'm getting to bond with you and connect with you, hear your perspectives. And that's lost in a lot of men.
Yeah.
Like just sitting down and getting to know each other and sharing ideas. That is what this podcast has really brought value to my life doing. Because dude, this is going to be episode 220, I think.
Wow.
And that's 220 times of sitting down with somebody for 2 hours and learning about each other.
Yeah.
And we don't do that anymore.
I know.
You know, like you'll hear our Guns and Gis event. It's awesome on the range and it's awesome on the mats. But bro, the bonfire on Saturday night where we all sit around a fire. I advise people to not bring their phones unless you just want to take pictures with it. But don't get pulled into what you're always getting pulled into. Jump into what we're doing right here, right now.
Yeah.
And every class, dude, people leave with friendships that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
And it bonds people and it's community. And, you know, we can preach all of these things about capability and skill set and breath work and jiu-jitsu and yoga. But at the end of the day, I still say the most powerful thing that you can derive from that is by sharing that experience with people to your left and your right.
Yeah.
And build your community around that. And that's what we're going to do this weekend, man.
I'm stoked for it, dude. Thank you.
So since it's going out on both platforms, I'll say that my podcast is called The Endless Endeavor. It's available everywhere. Instagram, I'm Granderson33. If you want to follow or connect with me there, and then let people know where your stuff's at and where they can find you.
Yeah, man. My pod is called The Ebb and Flow, found on all platforms and YouTube. Love that we're doing the video. I think that's always a great element. And then you can follow me on Instagram at EDS Britton. And yeah, man, really been a pleasure.
Likewise, man. I'll put all your stuff in the show notes. I'll also put a link to Heal and Flow is something you have events throughout the year, right?
We do a couple a year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't have one on the schedule yet for next year. It's still in the works, but yeah, everything that I'm doing, you could check it out and connect with me on Instagram on.
Cool, man. And I also want to say, next year, I want to fully immerse in your event.
Yeah.
You know, I had some other stuff going on, so I had to kind of bounce in and out, which to a point feels disrespectful, if I'm being honest. Like,
I appreciate that.
Am I in or am I out? Right. Like, and we've had people come to our events and be like, hey, I'd like to attend the pistol morning, but then I got to go. And we're like, it's not really going to work. Right.
Yeah.
And then I was that guy. So it kind of stung a little bit. I wanted to share that with you.
I appreciate that, man.
But it makes me happy that you said, no, like, I would rather you be here for 1 or 2 classes as opposed to missing all of it.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. So
yeah,
thank you, man.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap this up and let's go say what's up to the guys out front.
All right, brother.